Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Heather Wilde with the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. And yes, I did change my name. And so went from Dowen to Wilde. Little bit of a rebrand, little bit of a, midlife revolution of, really owning who and what I am. And maybe I'll tell you all stories about that at a later time. But what I have for you today is a conversation with one of the people that I just love the most on this whole planet. And when I decided to do this podcast, 3 years ago now, it was because I have the best conversations with the coolest people. And I wanted to be able to share the conversations that I have with, my community with other people so that they could learn from them and experience and enjoy and grow from them. And so Katy Hartness is one of those people that I have been wanting to have on here forever to talk about her passions and what she does, because, I have a bio that I could read, but really what I will tell you about Katy Hartness is that she's educated at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and then she went to naturopathic school, and then she really decided way earlier than the rest of us that wasn't the best way to go. So she was ahead of the curve on that one and decided that she was going to follow her heart in other ways. And I love and I applaud that. And so she's probably the best massage therapist and neuromuscular specialist that you could be happy enough to meet. And she has branched out into essential oils and compounding them for personal and very special reasons. So she's not saying, oh, take lavender to relax. She's going deeper into the cause of disease with that. She's also one of the best cooks I've ever had the chance of eating with. She is a phenomenal artist. She's a spectacular mother, and she's one of my best friends. And so I would like to introduce my nearest and dearest, Katy Hartness. Hi, Kate.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the time that you take to help everybody explore into their better selves. So thank you for the invitation. And today we're going to talk about nature's pharmacy. Mm-hmm. And we are going to discuss the beauty of self-care and being very sincere about it. There are times that my self-care has included food for the soul, which could be chocolate upon chocolate with a little bit of chocolate in the center, and that is needed. There's also, though, the growing up element, being in mid-40s at this point with my 2 children and my husband, and we are doing our best to eat true food and to use our essential oils as medicine, as well as our food as medicine, and to try to give our girls the best ways that they can be honest about their needs and apply essential oils as plant-based medicine in their lives. And so I was mentioning to Dr. Heather earlier that each of the girls has a litany of oils beside their bed, and that they are in the learning process and very involved in their care. So one of them struggles with going to bed with ease. She wants to hang from the chandeliers. And the other one, as soon as her head hits the pillow, she is asleep, but she tends to be our stuffy breather. And so we have oils for her that help open up her airway and create an easier breathing experience just based on how she's made. So anyway, I have found that essential oils have added greatly to my practice. As Heather mentioned, I'm a neuromuscular therapist, and the focus of my practice is structural rebalancing so that people have enough room for their mechanics to work in a light, less fatiguing way. So if we can stack our joints correctly, usually it's just like the foundation of a home. The vessels move the blood with ease, move the lymph as well, and the wiring works better. So all the nerve flow is moving without entrapment and impingement. So that is always my goal in practice. But what I realized when treating patients would be that they would come back, and in the interim, in that space in between our moments that we had, whether the sessions were a week apart, 2 weeks apart, some even a month for management, that they needed some way that they could do some self-care when they were not coming into the office to be seen. And so it really was a strong accountability effort on their part and my part that sort of mixed a new plan of action. And so using essential oils became a part of what I do in my office, and then also part of what I'm doing at home. And it's been a real beautiful journey. Let me say, there's been some self-experimenting and some growth from that. So
Well, that's kind.
yes. So I will start off and say essential oils are very honest. My personal walk with them has been one where I'm metabolizing perhaps acute onset of physical pain, maybe a headache, maybe neck pain, but they also address some chronic conditions and inflammation as well. So they have the ability to work right on site, right on spot, but also dive deeper into some of those layers that seem hard to reach. Just the chronic things that we've absorbed into, now that's my new normal, they will get down in there and affect that knee that has been bothering for 18 years. They'll get in there and move some things out. And I was unprepared, but excited when experiencing this. So let me just say, they don't do the work from the standpoint of making us superheroes. I was mentioning this earlier to Dr. Heather. They invite us to be our best selves by being a balm for what ails us. So they address the discord, and then from there we emerge into our highest and best functioning self, our lighter self. Essential oils come from the extracts of barks, needles, roots, flowers, stems, grasses, resins. They are taken in hopefully the purest form if you're going to use them for therapeutic use rather than just an air freshener. If you're going to use them for your health and for your body, you really want the purest essential oil extract. Just like a tomato is not a tomato, is not a tomato. So the one that you get from the farmer's market, that's been procured carefully and lovingly, maybe even given a name, that tomato is going to be so much better than your Burger King tomato. That's sort of a pasty peach color, and it's just not healthy from the moment they sliced it. It never was meant to be that source of nutrition. So when you think of nutrition to get from your essential oils, you're not thinking of caloric nutrition, for instance. You're thinking of emotional resonance and vibrational stability, so that your plant-based medicine is going to get into your cells and help to heal you for what ails you. So I use doTerra essential oils. I've been using essential oils off and on for about 12 years. But the last 5 years, I began to narrow my search, and then I began to hone. The reason I choose doTerra oils is because I care about how they're sourced. I also care that at this time, as far as September of 2021, doTerra as a company became the only FDA approved essential oil company in the United States, and I believe in the world from the standpoint of FDA approval, but that's a US thing. And they were considered to be passing all the rigors of Johns Hopkins and Vanderbilt in a 5-year study. So in 2021, they were given the mark of purity, consistency, dosing, delivery, and efficacy. So that matters to me, because if I'm going to request that somebody use anything with consistency, for instance, for their care, I want it to be pure sourced. I also care about co-impact sourcing for the land. I want the land to be treated respectfully, and the farmers who farm it. So doTerra is a fair trade company, and that feels right. That feels right to me. So as far as using oils, you can use them 3 ways to get them into your system. And I'll pick one. I have my litany, and I like to color code. The artist in me loves a palette. So I've placed, this is probably, I'm going to say 1/3 of my oils, but these are my top picks for what I use often. this thing folds together and becomes a little suitcase. And I carry it with me. My purse has become small. My essential oil bag has become big. Yeah. So anyway, but I'm going to pick one of my favorites to use. This is the oil of cypress. I adore cypress. Cypress is excellent for creating movement and motion in joints. It also helps if a person has anyone in their home who is incontinent or bedwetting. Cypress smells so good. It is, I guess, very green and herbaceous, like the cypress tree. So you can use your essential oils by getting the vapors into your system, placing a drop in the center of the hand. You can then, I like to move my hands like Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. Get them really, get them really, really nice and warm. Cup them like this, place over the nose, and breathe in. And when you breathe in, the vapors will move up into the olfactory system and they will be in your bloodstream in 30 seconds. So the reason this matters is because you can shift the dynamics of an experience very quickly.
Well, just to, be a science nerd about this, the olfactory system is the only sensory neurological pathway that bypasses the thalamus. And so it's like a pure inundation of information into the sensory cortex of the brain. And so that's why when you smell something like grandma's perfume, you can immediately have an emotional reaction to it. And so the oils can shift that and work in that space, as far as that goes.
And to your point, oils like frankincense. Frankincense contains sesquiterpenes, and sesquiterpenes can pass the blood-brain barrier. Mm-hmm. And so the wonderful part about that is that it affects the limbic system, and people who've had post-traumatic stress that continues to grip them, the anxiety that may be experienced, the parts of life that feel that they are overwhelming on a daily basis, frankincense actually can affect the limbic system and change those trauma sensations so that they are not as charged. I find that to be huge because being in the field that I'm in, a lot of people, when they are on the treatment table, it's the hour they're not with their phone. And so they express, they talk about all of the ongoings of life that are part of an injury they might be sustaining. So I treat one gentleman who stepped on a mine in Afghanistan 7 years ago, and some shrapnel hit him into the frontal lobe. And he has had difficulty ever since. He has some processing issues. Mostly, he feels constantly fearful and ill-equipped. I think that would be the summation. And so using oils has helped him be more in charge of the daily walk, because he's not going to take himself out of this life, but he wants to live his best in this life. So anyway, just mentioning that the oils that contain the sesquiterpenes and the fact that they pass the blood-brain barrier, they can go into the system and help to rework the nature of a person's traumatic experience, which is pretty profound, because some of us want to have that type of internal journaling while we sleep. You wake up and you're like, I feel better. And I didn't have to talk about it a whole lot.
Right.
So you can take in oils through diffusion, breathing them in. You can also apply them topically. And so applying them topically, here's a homemade concoction I made for my daughter, Olivia. You can see on the top of this, I don't know if you can read it, if it's easy to read.
My glasses.
It says sty. Olivia had a sty on her eye. And so very carefully in this book that I was reading, it said, when I was looking at the recipe, it said, do not put it on the sty. We don't want the oils in the eye, but make the blend that is mentioned and then put it around on the outside, and the oils will be able to affect that. It went down within 24 hours. And so it was pretty amazing. Now I made a lot as if we were handling 400 styes, right? I mean, I think let's make sure there's plenty. But anyway, I used the recipe recommended, and it made such a huge difference for her to have that relief, because it was certainly aggravating. So you can apply oils topically. You can apply them on location. So if somebody has, for instance, a sty, it could go around the eye. If someone has pain in their neck and is experiencing that, I use an oil that's called Deep Blue. And this is a blend that is, whoops, there it goes, just the lid. But you drop one drop in the hands, and you can apply with a carrier oil, or you can put it on neat if you enjoy the buzz like I do. But you put it on, and it will move into the skin. So transdermal means, of course, it will penetrate the dermis and go into the skin and affect you that way. So that's topical. That is the second way. And then the third way a person can take essential oils into their body is to take them in internally. Now, something I do appreciate that the doTerra does is they make it very simple for people who are thinking, can I ingest this one? Is this one safe? On the side of the bottle, if there are supplement facts, it means it's one you can take in your system. If they don't have supplement facts on the side, then it's one you would want to hit pause on. So that's something to consider.
I mean, I'm an herbalist, and I think that the reason that I really like doTerra is that their oils are pure enough that you can take them internally. Most you cannot.
That's true.
And so
there
the
are
fact,
synthetics.
oh, I mean, even like I buy organic, oils in glass that are supposed to be purified, but they're not standardized and they're not really watched. And so, yeah, I can buy, lavender or whatever on Amazon and I'll spend a fraction of the cost, but I would never take that internally, ever. But doTerra, you can with the certain ones that have the supplement packs.
You sure can. And what's interesting is then it's going to move into your system digestively, and then your body will disperse it as needed. I have been doing my called cinnamon challenge. So if you were to get online and type into Google search bar, what does cinnamon do? How does cinnamon help me? How can cinnamon benefit my life? Well, supposedly a virus cannot live in cinnamon. Well, in this state of viral upheaval that we are in our communities,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I will talk after the podcast. But I've been taking one drop of cinnamon a day. Now it is potent and it is spicy. I will also say that I can actually feel it working. And it's really interesting. It's simply one drop. But you can notice that your body, like a heat-seeking missile, is going to send the oils where it feels the oils are best utilized, where they are needed. And I've been taking, studies have shown that a virus cannot replicate in eucalyptus. So with eucalyptus oils. So I put it on the bottom of my feet and it smells so good. And I've made a spray for my shower just because it keeps the yuck from growing as quickly. And I mean, it's enhancing the way that I breathe it in, and I feel like I can breathe it in. If I were to put some of the toxic stuff you find in the grocery store and spray it in the shower, you feel like you have to cover your mouth or not breathe for that, 40 seconds while you're in the process of being in that enclosed space. So eucalyptus, not only can you breathe it in, but it's serving you medicinally. Also, I know probably many people who listen to you are somewhat educated in the biology realm, but just in case there's one person who is like, I don't even know what biology is.
Most of them probably.
Then we'll just go over one small thing. And so we all know oil and water will not mix, right? They're repellents. They don't cross with ease. So it's interesting that in the body, essential oils are such a nice fit because our cells are surrounded by an oily membrane. Well, pharmaceuticals are water-based. And so when you take a pharmaceutical in, the pharmaceutical can only get to the bacteria on the outside of the cell because it can't penetrate inside a cell where a virus may live, which is why people will say, well, you're going to have to run the course with that virus. This antibiotic is not going to treat your virus. I'm sorry, go home, be well, and watch some Scooby-Doo. Well, what happens with essential oils, if they're therapeutic, like doTerras are, if they're potent and they're considered medicinal, you can take the essential oil in and it will penetrate that lipid layer and go into the cell and be able to affect change. So it can kill the virus if cinnamon and stop the replication if eucalyptus.
Cinnamon's also really good for blood sugar, but also oils can go through the outer membrane of the nucleus, which is another fatty layer, and actually change the way that DNA is transcribed and expressed, which is super powerful. And it's another way that the body actually, when you get out of its way and give it what it needs, it knows how to heal itself.
That's so true. It's really about not micromanaging the way that our bodies are going to be able to get back to baseline.
Right.
It's thinking of the support needed through the interface that we have as humans with a plant world, and using the plants as antidotes for pain that we have. I was going to mention, so some people will say, well, how can I take care of myself once I identify my need? So whether the need is pain, stiffness, headaches, migraines, earaches, plantar warts, any of the unsavories that you say, I really don't want this. How can I get rid of it? You can look up in various books that are provided that have recipes in them. And for instance, I heard of someone recently that has laryngitis. And so, I looked up laryngitis, and it mentions the oils to use are the On Guard, which is the immune support combination doTerra makes, but myrrh, lemon, and frankincense. And then it tells you combine 5 drops each of these specific oils, and you're going to apply topically over your throat area. And so it tells you they will absorb and help treat that. So
now, On Guard is one of my favorites. And I remember the first time I came into contact with doTerra was, probably in 2011. Someone came to my office and they, gave me a drop of On Guard and a little bit of water. And I am a bit of a brick, I don't have the, feelings of energy. And at the time I was completely dissociated from my body. Well, now I'm much better than I was, but I was completely dissociated from my body. And I remember having it and just feeling so much shift and lighten and brighten. And that is one that I think should be in every single house, everywhere. And it's a really great blend. I'm not as versed in the other blends, but that is something that, especially in the environment that we find ourselves, it's amazing. And I know that you sent me a little package with the On Guard wipes because I travel a lot. And so being able to clean rather than the nasty alcohol that actually drives viruses and bacteria into your skin, you can use the, On Guard, which actually kills what is needing to be killed. And it smells so beautifully. And then the toothpaste too, which I'm very excited about and I use today, can you tell? And
we're On Guard has cinnamon and clove and wild orange as its key players, and the rosemary that's in there too. It's just so perfectly balanced. But we will cut an apple up for our girls, and you can put 2 drops in a little bowl with water and flop the sliced apple pieces around, and it goes into the apple, and the girls love it because of the orange, the clove, and the cinnamon. And it's a way of saying, take it internally without having them open their mouths like baby birds and put it in like I do. But it's such a good immune booster, and it's smart for our boundaries to have something that's going to support us, but also separate us from being in constant association with the various icks that are out there that can creepy crawl in. So if you have something, it'll support you back into feeling better, but it also staves off, it separates out from coming in contact so closely with everything that is in our external world that might not be beneficial. If we can talk though, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. What was your next thing?
I was
I
going
just
to
want to
mention,
make sure that we get to you compounding things for people, because you can look stuff up in a book and
yes,
like I can look and be like, oh yeah, I think I should take that and that. But with your expertise over the years, that's something that I absolutely want to make sure that we talk about. But you
okay.
can certainly go on with what you were about to say.
Okay, well, I think I can weave these together.
All right,
I'll
good.
weave these thoughts together. So when I do compound for others, when I create specific blends and tinctures, I like to ask the personal questions that are beyond just what physical ailments are affecting you, because there is more at play to what causes discord in people's lives. And so I like to ask people, without judging, let's talk about 3 feelings that you experience that you would like to amplify, and 3 that you would like to diminish. And so some people will go, well, what I don't understand. I have 2 feelings. I have happy and sad. And so I'll say, okay, good, we can start there. And usually in that spectrum, in the happy part of the spectrum, people consider those positive or those good feelings. And in the sad part of the spectrum, they think these are things that I don't want, or things that are draining or bad. And so if we don't look at it like good or bad, but we look at it simply as experience, what are the things in our lives that we wish we could have more of? And so something we wish we could have more of that we could amplify. Examples are energy, love, comfort, trust, joy, safety, acceptance, awareness, peace, empowerment, clarity, to be more enlightened. And those are just some examples. And then beyond that, if we really wanted to dice that up further, if somebody said, well, I wish I had more peace in my life, I have all this anxiety, I have all this overwhelm, then you could break it up further. Do you wish you were more relaxed, more harmonious, more centered, more stable, more calm, more restful, more balanced, more relieved, more contemplative, more grounded, more present? So where is that lack of peace? Is it being frittered because you can't focus? Is it or lack of peace because the sense of the unknown world, the anxiety about what's to come, feels too overwhelming? And so from these questions, I will begin to distill down the things that one wrestles with, and then I will choose the oils to put together that hopefully will abate those symptoms and create ease in a person's life. Really, my hope is to empower someone to be their best selves. And we all have ways in which we feel that we are our best. And then I know for me, I'll speak for me. I tend to become overwhelmed because I like to start 7 sentences at once, and I like to do a lot of things, and I have many interests. And I joke with my husband, whenever we have any time off, I want to stay up late and get up early. Like, I want to do it all. And because of that, I tend to say yes too often. I tend to overcommit, and I tend to be somewhat frittered, haggard, underslept. And that can be a part of my tragic flaw, downfall, spill. So that self-awareness of tendencies is important. When we're talking about emotions to diminish, and a person's like, well, I don't really know what you mean. To diminish would be to quiet some of these feelings: insecurity, sadness, purposelessness, insecurity, confusion, numbness, wounded, anger, fear, feelings of being unsafe, overwhelmed, or constricted. And then you can divide those up further. Those are just some examples, but my husband, he has been honest, and he'll say that sometimes he's like, I really feel just kind of numb. And numb is something. Numb is that gray point in life where you've had to manage and handle, and there might be so much you've had to manage and handle that you've put a big gray sheet over all of it, but you know that you don't sense or feel to completion. Any great day is just and any bad day, it's like whatever. And do we want to live like that? Now, some people
I
say,
don't.
yes, I love that. Not me.
Give
Not
me
me.
more antidepressants. I love that.
Right. I really want to be able to metabolize my life so that I can move on to that next step.
Mhm.
So, based on knowing ourselves and being most honest, then usually we can describe what we need and therefore get what we want. Hope is a key player, though. Hope is a key player, because if we don't have hope that there can be a shift, then that makes choosing health futile. It really just means we don't try. So having hope towards addressing some of the things that are going on in our lives is important. So that's the compounded thing. I will also share that for me, I want 3 things for my essential oils. I care about the sourcing. The quality is very, very important. I also like what I'm smelling to be rich, potent, and aromatic, and it needs to come across as true. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, there are some potent candles out there that are not true, but so it has to come across as of the earth. And then I like to lasso, to a degree, my own healthcare. I like to be in charge of my daily walk with healthcare. Now, if I were to fall prey to a gunshot wound, heaven forbid, I would not
the time.
put a little wild orange around the area and choose abundance. I would go to the
Right. And yet,
But
we can't, as providers, we can't heal anybody. You and I can't heal. There's nothing that we can do to heal someone. That healing comes from within the clients and the patients. And these oils are a way for them to take control, but also participate in something more than just taking a pill to suppress something, because these oils are illuminating. They come from plants. One of my favorite podcasters did a show with one of my favorite woo-woo people, and they said that the way to be the best human that you could possibly be is to breathe well, which right
right.
Eat more plants, because of the fact that they're just they're enlightened. They take the sun and they make themselves it, right? And laugh. And so those are the 3 things. So you get your essential oils that come from plants, and you breathe it in, and then you can laugh about how you're Mr. Miyagi or whatever, and I think that that's a beautiful thing of making a choice to be hopeful and make a choice to be responsible, rather than everybody telling you what to do. Some things just don't make sense. And so making your own decisions. In this website, the Naturopathic MD website that I built, was about how to educate people to make their best health choices, and their best health choices are different from mine and yours. And but if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, then that's a position of disadvantage.
It's true. And I think most of us, even down to the shampoo level, we choose what we like because we sense something that we're missing and wanting. So whether it's a candle, whether it's shampoo, whether it's just a drawer sachet, there's something in our animal brains that are seeking a connection to a particular scent. My neighbor who's right beside us, he would say, Katy, I'm always drawn to vetiver and bergamot. Vetiver and bergamot, those are the senses and the smells that I'm drawn to. Well, one day I just made him a blend and I put it in his mailbox. And so, true to form, he took the cap off and he rolled it all over himself. And he said, I felt great all day. He said, what do those do? And so I got out my book and I read it to him. And I said, vetiver is the oil of grounding and focus. And bergamot is the oil of self-relationship and acceptance. And both of those are things that he actually is working on. And so I found that to be very interesting. And it did create a really good intimate conversation. And he ended up saying, okay, I can't live my life with just this roller thing. We need to order some oils so I can learn more and use them. And so there is such benefit
Mhm.
to going into that realm of curiosity and asking yourself why you're drawn to certain things. And are you drawn to a need in your life at this time to detox and cleanse out? Are you drawn for a need in your life right now for good boundaries
Mhm.
and for health and for also the boundaries between yourself and someone else and knowing where you end and they begin and making good decisions for yourself?
I think
And
it's
then also,
important to,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm rambling.
You're not rambling, Kate. But I think it's important just to segue here as far as, like, yeah, I love the smell of that candle, right? But it's all, phthalates that actually, and parabens and fragrances that are artificial and cause cancer and immune disruption, and the fabric softeners and the smells that people like on an unconscious way they're being drawn to. A lot of them are actually the violent cousins of something that can actually be helpful. And so that's another reason why I think essential oils are so important. I use them in my dryer instead of dryer sheets to freshen the laundry, and in the room instead of Glade. I went to visit a friend of mine and there were Glade plugins all through the house, and I went and I unplugged every single one because they were just, I understand why they exist, and yet there's so many better options to do instead. And that's why the cornerstone of naturopathic MD and what I've been building with the Choose Your Own Health adventure is detoxification, because of all of these chemicals that we were exposed to. And so these are a perfect substitute for that. And so if you have anything to say about like specifics that you really love for certain things associated with those toxicities or boundaries, I would love that as we bring this to a little bit of a close. And otherwise you and I can talk all day.
Okay. Well, as far as a way to help detoxify and cleanse the body, 1 drop of lemon oil is so powerful. Just 1 drop in a container. I use a stainless steel water bottle. I try to not use plastic. We have a whole home filtration system on our house because I just don't want to add to all of the packed landfills. So I like to fill up my stainless steel container and put my 1 drop of lemon oil in, and it's very purifying. It's alkalizing. And so it's cleansing and helping to address some of that acidity that can be in the body. And that is one thing you can do every time you fill it up. Just put 1 drop in and you'll notice you feel refreshed so much better. But also I am addressing a bit of that too much sugar post-holiday overwhelm. And I'm using my oils to help maneuver me out of a certain type of sugar craving nature. And so I will reach for my bergamot and reach for my geranium and reach for my grapefruit. And those are really wonderful. And I just put a little drop in my hand and breathe in. And what's so fascinating is once a person has begun to have new habits and new rituals centered around healthy thinking and lifestyle choices, they'll find they don't have to work so hard to not have the 3rd brownie. Like they don't have to, like, don't eat the brownie, don't eat that. They just don't want the brownie. They just, for some reason, are going to take that side road. It's a whole different way of being wired and a way of thinking. And so doTerra also has supplements. The supplements are amazing. There's something called the Lifelong Vitality Pack, and it's a 3-pack, and it has the multivitamin, but it also has a combination of 9 essential oils that are in a tiny little soft gel, and it has fish oil in there too. And so I feel better when I take that on an internal level, and I just take 2 a day. But I've noticed that I don't have that same type of craving for the rich foods that I was eating. And let me tell you, I like a standing rib roast, and I like beurre blanc, and I like it all, and we do eat it all. But I fell off the wagon hard in December, and I rolled so far from the wagon, could barely see it. So I had to really get my bearings again. You know, the whole indulgence is great, but now as far as choosing health as a mainstay, I'm back into using my oils that are going to address the extra padding that I have on.
Well, and falling off the wagon and getting back on is the secret to life.
Well, it's detox and retox and
Exactly.
detox and retox.
Now, one thing I am curious about is there an oil that you use for hope?
Yes, actually, they have a hope blend, but the
Really?
it is for people who are deeply despairing. And actually, let me turn here because I'll read you exactly what's in the blend. Some of the blends are made if a person, there's something called the emotions line. And for instance, if somebody has respiratory issues or grief that they're facing, they can use the breathe oil and it opens up the airway. I'm sure you know in Chinese medicine that lungs that are not functioning well have a relationship with suppressed grief metabolization.
I've been seeing it in COVID, where the people that have the worst lung issues are the ones that are really suppressing their grief. And when they can actually just like wail it out and open it up and move it, it shifts things significantly.
It's amazing how much that overcoming is a part that getting beyond in COVID is really a part of expressing full function of the body and not being angry that we are where we are when we acquire sickness, but it's just telling us information.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is inside the hope blend? This hope blend, you can see it says overcoming there. It gives you the ingredients: bergamot, ylang ylang, frankincense, and vanilla. Now, ylang ylang is the oil that helps bring out the childlike wonder and the qualities of being a child that we might be missing. And so for my super serious double board certified father, I put ylang ylang on his pillow because sometimes he can get very heady and bogged down in being the patriarch that is hyper responsible and does not get in the ocean when we've been there 7 days. You know, like really has a hard time embracing the childlike aspect. And hope is really a part of that childlike.
That's true.
Willingness to have resilience and resurge again and to take that next step into believing things get better. So that's in that blend. Frankincense is also a big part of that. Using frankincense is like being wrapped in a warm hug. It is very stabilizing. And so when Olivia, my oldest, was stung on her eye last June by a bee, I just put some frankincense and some breathe in her hand because she was having a hard time just getting calm. I mean, her whole eye was swollen. And so I didn't, shake anything right in her eyeball. But again, it's interesting, the sty with the eye and then the bee sting, they were months apart. But those oils are a big part of revealing that are better days ahead. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to.
Let me see. Well, I think that we talked about sourcing, and they can find you at naturopathicmd.com. We'll have a link there for them to be able to, book consults with you to be able to see how they can get a concoction that can, because there's blind spots. People have blind spots. And, being able to see clearly the things that you really need, not the things that you think that you need, right? Like there's self-care, and then there's self-responsibility, and there's, know thyself and truth is all healing. And yet there's some places in ourselves that we just don't necessarily see. that, another practitioner. That's why practitioners exist. And so you can find Katy at naturopathicmd.com. You can order doTerra oils from her under Katy Hartness. And thank you so much for meeting with me and talking about this today. And you're a bright light in my life, and I'm happy to share you with others. And let me know if you want to come on again. But do you have anything else to sum up?
To sum up is really a thank you for asking me to be here. It has been a true joy. And if I can help anyone, I love an act of service to help each person attempt their best selves. So please be in touch. I'm happy to talk with you.
Wonderful, Kate. So this has been Dr. Heather Wilde and Katy Hartness talking about essential oils and how you can take control of your health and your well-being. And this has been the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram sporadically because social media is the devil, but you can find us there. And, we look forward to helping you along your choose your own health adventure journey. So I guess I'll, see you guys the next time I decide to get on the podcast and talk about things, because I know that I did take some time off, and we'll just see how it goes.